Hour coming to you live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are on the free Odyssey app, good Wednesday morning. A spectacular night at Citi Field. And the Mets are one game away, one win away from advancing to the NLCS. Still a long way to go. You got to get one win. You can't go back to Philadelphia. You don't want to go back to Philadelphia, although I believe this team is capable of absolutely anything. But you'd love to wrap it up and not have to deal with Zach Wheeler in Philly on Friday. And last night, you could say what you want, statement game, litmus test, whatever it was. But they were the better team by a mile last night. Sean Manaea, the offense not letting up. Tacking on, you get bases loaded, nobody out, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, could this be the thing that gets the Phillies back in the game? No, Starling Marte, 2 outs, gets that hit to make it 4-0. They tack on more with Iglesias. This was awesome in front of all those Mets fans that maybe were like me and thought they were dead, or maybe had belief the whole time, but everybody was on the same page. Last night, it was awesome, and they were there early. So they listened to us. They were there early, and it was just a tremendous, spectacular night in Queens. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I am doing great. So get there again early tonight.
Yes.
Because it's the same thing as last night. And all I can tell you is that the Met players and, of course, their manager, Carlos Mendoza, had been talking for the last 3 or 4 days about coming home and playing in front of their own crowd and how the energy was brought. But the energy is brought because Big Pete and Winker go yard. Yep. That's what brings the energy. And again, we were talking about it in relation to the Yankees in their second game against Kansas City, where they just couldn't get a hit. They couldn't get a big hit. They couldn't hit a home run. And it felt like it was somewhat flat in Yankee Stadium. Everybody was blaming Carlos Rodon. So last night was the opposite of that. Last night was Sean Manaea was great from a Mets perspective, and the home runs were amazing. I mean, that's exactly what everybody in that building wanted to see from Pete Alonso, who is now becoming hot again, and he is doing it. And this bomb by Jesse Winker was amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, he just rips that. So, like, if you're at that game or sitting at home watching it like I was and you were, I mean, you're like, oh, my God, this literally is like now all of a sudden a team that has come of age and has really come together over the last 2 weeks. And maybe that 2-week trip that they had, maybe it, I don't know, solidified them, brought them together. I think they already were together. But this yesterday was one of the, and I was talking to Fliegelman this morning.
Oh, were you? Fliegelman's wearing a Pete Alonso jersey
Yes,
today.
well, he was at the game yesterday.
And took off from here, yep.
And I wanted to get his take on, what it felt like to be a part of that and to see it up close and personal. My own personal feeling is this is one of the best games that they've played. From a pitching standpoint, from a key batting standpoint, the entire lineup I felt like was a part of this. From Marte to Iglesias to Lindor to Winker to Alonso. Everybody felt like when you get that kind of balance in your lineup and you get that kind of pitching, I mean, they're going to be tough to beat. So the momentum clearly on their side, and the momentum can be, go only as far as tomorrow's pitchers or today's pitchers in this case. So Quintana's a lefty. If he can recreate what Manaea did yesterday, it would be unbelievable, and then they would be on their way to the National League Championship Series, which it's so hard for me to even fathom.
Oh, believe it now, man. I know.
But compared to where we came from in May and June and early July.
Crazy, but believe it now, man. I mean, you're right. It is. It's been one hell of a journey, and I think you and Fliegelman and I had the same thought. That's why I said one of the first things I said was last night I was watching the Mets be the better team. Now, you're right, baseball, day to day, you don't know, this and that. Up and down, but like I was watching that team yesterday beat up on the Phillies going, they're better. They're better than they are because they believe. Now they're back home. Their starting pitching has been amazing from top to bottom. Guys are clutch. And I know how talented the Phillies are, but this version of the Mets is better than they are and better than the Phillies are. They got to finish them off. They got to finish them off at Citi Field. I heard Nick Castellanos after the game going, we got our backs up against the wall. Baseball's going to be over for us if we lose this game. And I'll tell you right now, the Mets don't want to go back to Philadelphia. Well, I mean,
I would be saying the same thing if I were him, and he's right.
Yeah, but I mean, this team has proven, I mean, time and time again that on the road, back up against the wall, they could do whatever. But yeah, you prefer to not go back to Philadelphia.
I think the reason being is because they got Zach Wheeler, on deck.
God, I know that's the bigger point. Like, screw those Philly fans and Red October and all that nonsense. I mean, it's Zach Wheeler. That's the reason why you don't want to go back there.
The one thing, I don't know if you caught this yesterday, they were talking about the 86 team, about how they had to take care of business because they didn't want to go back to Houston to see Mike Scott.
Yeah,
they were talking about that last night on the broadcast. Another other thing that I really liked about this broadcast last night, I know they're national broadcasters, and I know it's Adam Wainwright and A.J. Brzezinski, but I kind of like the folksiness of them. And
folksy, huh?
Yeah, and they're kind of easy about the game, and they do talk, and Brzezinski talks about the catcher and pitch selection and things like that. I kind of really like that. And I do like what they did when they showed the Phillies going through batting practice prior to the game, where they put the pitching machine in relation to the way that Sean Manaea pitches, and how they tried to recreate where the ball was coming from. And that's all analytics. You know what I mean? That all of that is analytics, and that was something
didn't work.
It didn't work, and I think it was AJ said it. It says, yeah, all those things are great to practice until the game actually starts, and then you get into the box and you see it for real, and it is a little different. And for Sean Manaea, the start of his life, the performance of his life, it came in a huge spot considering where he was the last couple of years and what he had faced when he had that meltdown in the fifth inning against the Phillies in the playoffs a few years back. So a little bit of vindication for him. And all I could say is that the Mets got it going on right now, and it's all throughout the lineup. It's not just one or two guys now. Everybody's participating. And one of my favorite players on this team, because of where he's come from, what he's done, and how clutch he has been Mark Vientos.
Yeah, I mean, and for a younger player to come up in so many key situations and deliver is just amazing for the present and amazing for the future. And his season, much like the Mets, got off to a really weird start, as he didn't make the team when he believed he should have, when we believed he should have. He did some passive-aggressive social media stuff. He was mad at the team. And then as the season goes on, he's needed. He comes up. He delivers. He backs up everything he was talking about. And now he's a humongous part of this juggernaut that we're watching right now.
You know who he reminds me of? Reminds me of like Alexei Lafreniere with the Rangers.
Oh, Jesus.
It just took a while, and then all of a sudden the light goes on and you realize you belong. Now, he's older than Alexei. Alexei's only 22.
Okay.
And Mark Vientos is 24.
Gotcha.
So he's a little bit more mature, and maybe he regretted some of that passive-aggressive nonsense on social media at the beginning of the year. But the fact that he has grown into a legitimate player and hitting big hits, home runs, coming through. There are times where he looks like he was a little overwhelmed against Zach Wheeler in Game 1.
Certainly.
But then again, everybody else, it looked like, was like that as well. But I don't think that he's got everything you want. He can make the plays at third base. You need him to make the play at third base. He's been pretty solid over there. But his hitting and his clutch hitting has been what's really been a sight to behold, and that's a homegrown talent right there.
Yeah, and I have learned throughout the years that what I say really doesn't have any impact on these games. We do talk about touching the money and stuff like that. I'm not doing that.
Don't do that.
Well, I already said I didn't think they were going back to Philadelphia.
I know, but why do you?
No, this is just
don't
listen
do
to what
it
I'm
for
going to
me.
say.
Like you do it for your partner.
No, listen. This is what all I'm going to say is that when I turn that game on. And I think every Mets fan that goes to that game and everybody that puts it on TV tonight has a different feeling about what is going to happen than in previous games of this magnitude. I expect them to win. I expect this team to win and take care of business. Now, I don't think that's touching the money. That's having confidence in the team. And I can't tell you, I can count on one hand the amount of times I have sat down, put a baseball game on, in an elimination game for either team that the Mets are involved in and said, I think they're going to win. It hasn't happened a lot. And I said it in Game 3 against the Brewers. It happened. I'm saying it again here. I just expect this team to win. And I have not said that a lot as a Mets fan, and I'm free. And I'm saying
You're free. You're free
I'm
now.
just letting it fly.
That's great. You're free.
I'm letting it fly because what I say has got no impact on the outcome of this game, and I don't want to sit down and be nervous. I want to sit down and know that this team's going to give me the best effort, and if they do, they're going to win.
All right.
Is that okay?
One pitch, one at bat,
Is that okay?
one inning. You hear what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yep.
Keep it simple. Don't get too complicated. I know you're all jacked up and excited now. Your Met fandom is activated. Has been activated for a month now.
Dormant volcano.
I think people have felt that, as this season has gone on, they've noticed a change in you. There's a happiness about you now. And this is what one of my biggest Met fan friends would turn into. You're almost like turning into Grimace in front of me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and by the way, the Mets and the Vikings have never been this good together.
And they both have something purple together.
Right,
like
exactly.
Grimace.
Since the year 2000, and the year 2000, the Mets ended up losing to the Yankees in the World Series, and the Vikings lost to the Giants 41-0 in the NFC Championship game. So that didn't end great, but you got to enjoy it while you can. So anyway, let's spend the next few minutes here because we have to. Because at 10:08, Rob Saleh gets fired.